Hello and welcome to another exciting psychology exam skills section. On this section, we are going to be focusing or just discussing the ideas of timings. Timings is essential to ensure that you are going to complete your exam questions within that specific paper. So it is really important that you become aware with strategies and length of times that you're going to use for certain sizes of questions. The only way to get better with your timings is by practicing. Really important that you're putting in the extra work and doing timed questions to increase your ability to answer questions within the set time. Now, as you know, in psychology, we have 3 exam papers, paper 1, 2, and 3. And each of these papers are 2 hours in length, which equates to 120 minutes. But also each exam paper is worth 96 marks. So if we're working on the premise of a minute a mark, which is a good premise to be working on, that means it leaves you with 24 minutes for planning, for thinking, for deconstructing the question, for rereading your answer. So you do have the times, but you need to be on the ball and meet the premise of working on a minute a mark. But let's take this from the simplistic idea of a minute mark into something a little bit more doable. We've got 120 minutes, 96 marks. So what is this telling us about timing? So let's have a look at paper 1 and paper 3. These 2 papers are made up of 4 modules. And we know we've got 120 minutes. And if we divide it by 4, a little bit of maths here, equates to 30 minutes a module. Now, each module is made up of 24 marks. So if we're working on the premise of 30 minutes, half an hour per module, that means 24 minutes to complete the questions, but we have 6 minutes thinking time, deconstructing a question time, rereading the question, and rereading your answer. So you do have the time to do these additional things. But you might say to me, oh, what happens if we have an 16 marker, an essay question or extended writing question? How can we do that then? This is where you've got to be really wise with your timings. If you had a 16 mark question, that means you have 8 marks of short answer questions or even just an 8 marker. How are you going to work your times? It is recommended that if you have a 16 marker, that you allocate 20 minutes to that 16 marker. And that means it leaves you 10 minutes for the remainder of, didn't quite make sense. Let's get back to my train of thought. It leaves you 10 minutes to do the other 8 marks. So it's really important that you really take time to think about this. 20 minutes should be the time you set. So that means you've got 8 marks left. So that means you've got 8 minutes to do them, but you've still got that 2 minutes of thinking and perhaps planning time and deconstructing the question time. It is a tight squeeze, but it is very doable. But it's about practicing these. When it comes to paper 2, it's slightly different because paper 2 is only made up of 3 modules: approaches, biopsychology, and research methods. Now, research methods is a double whammy. That's what I like to call it. It's a double module. And because it's a double module, it's worth 48 marks. So it's double the size of the other modules. So how are you going to do your breakdown? Again, you've still got 120 minutes, the 2-hour paper. So you need to work on the premise that approaches and biopsychology have 30 minutes each. You don't divide it because there's only 3 modules and say, oh, I've got 40 minutes per module. No. Research methods is a double whammy, so you should be allocating 1 hour, 60 minutes to research methods in order to complete it. So it's really important that you actually have a strategy of your timings when you go into your exams, but also start having that strategy now so that you can be doing this practicing. Let's just look at the extended writing questions a little bit more. Now, extended writing questions comes in 16 markers, 12 markers, 10 markers, 8 markers. So how are you going to do the timings? Well, we've previously said 16 marker should be about 20 minutes that you're spending on it. So that's giving you time to do your little plan, to fully understand the question, and then to write your answer. If you're looking at a 12 marker, you're looking at 15 minutes, because really when you think about it, 12 marks is half of 24 and half of 30 is 15 minutes. So it's a good way. So that means it's leaving you another 15 minutes to complete the other 12 marks. If you have a 10 marker, you're looking around about 12 minutes to complete that, because you still have 12 minutes, 12, sorry, my mental math's not so good. You still have 14 marks to complete. So you can't spend half your time on a 10 marker. And then an 8 marker, you should be looking at maximum of 10 minutes in order to complete that question. So it's really important that you don't just go into an exam unaware of your timings. In order for you to complete that whole paper, you need to be really conscious about your timings. So how do you get better at your timings? It's quite a simple answer. It's practice. The more you practice doing exam questions under time conditions, the better you become. You can't just rely on perhaps doing time questions in class, or if you have closed book assessments that are done in the study hall or your LRC. It's about you putting in that independent work so that you can have the ability to complete a module within 30 minutes. There's no point in completing one module in 40 minutes, because that means you've got less time to complete the other modules. And also a big hint is when you're doing your exam, make sure you can see the clock in the exam hall, and then you check it on a regular basis so that you can monitor your progression through the exam time-wise as well. Happy practicing. Get those timings right.